happy Webinar Wednesday to you. It is also National Taco Day. My email subject lines have been telling me constantly, which feels weird. It just seems like that would be on a Tuesday. I feel like missed opportunity, but who am I? They didn't ask me. So anyway, hello everyone. I hope that you're having a wonderful Wednesday thus far. Let's see, Reverie, shout out to you for starting off the chat. Hey, Roberto, Charles, Diane, Michael, Lauren, Wendy, Christina, David, Iona, Kat, and Reverie again. So thank you so much. I appreciate everyone tuning in, and go ahead and hop in the chat. Tell us where you're from. Tell us if you have used Pinterest before. So I am very excited today for this session. I'm a lurker on Pinterest. I really just use it to look at things I shouldn't be spending money on, and they know exactly what that is. So it's amazing how much time you can spend. But Kate is joining me today, and she's going to tell us how to use it productively to grow your author business and reach new readers. So thanks everybody for tuning in. A couple housekeeping things before we get started. This session will be recorded, so if you had to join late or leave early, it'll be on our YouTube channel, and we'll have that up there. You can find it there. And if you have questions, Kate has very generously offered to answer them at the end of the session, so you can drop them in the Q&A. Revere, I'm sorry, I pronounced your name wrong. Thank you for correcting me. So thanks everybody for hopping in. Kate, thank you so much for joining us. I am just going to do your intro here so everyone knows how legit and amazing you are. So if you are here, I'm excited that you're here to learn how to get more readers from Pinterest. And Kate, as I mentioned, is joining us today. Kate is the owner and CEO of Simple Pin Media, a Pinterest marketing agency. They work to help clients leverage Pinterest to bring more sales, leads, and growth. Over 10 years, they've worked with thousands of accounts, both managing but also teaching via their educational products and their podcast, the Simple Pin Podcast. So everyone give Kate a very warm welcome. And Kate, I will let you take it away.
Okay, I'll share my screen, so I'll make sure that everything is good to go. So you just give me the thumbs up on that once you see everything.
Perfect.
On your end here. All right, we're going to make sure that it's good to go.
And also shout out to anyone who's in the AM right now. I know it's 9 for Kate. So
yeah.
It's lunchtime for me. Anyone who woke up in the morning to attend.
I know, right? That's right. I'm just getting like coffee in my system. You guys are like already on to lunch. Okay, so how can you just see that how to get more readers from Pinterest? No notes or anything like that?
No notes. It looks great.
Okay, got it. All right, well, welcome. I'm so glad you're joining me today. Obviously, like you know, we're going to be covering Pinterest, some of our client experiences, and basically how you can frame up Pinterest for your marketing. If you are new, do not try to figure it out like a science. Just take all this in and make sure you ask your questions at the end. I find that with Pinterest, with people who are new, it's hard to take what they know about other social media platforms and figure it out for Pinterest. So just know I'm going to help you do that on a high level today. And then I'll answer some questions and give you some tools for next steps. If you have used Pinterest for a while, I really hope this presentation is going to give you some new ideas for how to market your book on Pinterest. Okay, so I want to give some backstory here. I have used Pinterest personally for my marketing for the last 10 years. And this is an example of how Pinterest works. In 2017, I pinned a post about how to clean up Pinterest boards. This was a blog post for my website. And I had an opt-in for this checklist that people could essentially clean up their own Pinterest account. That pin, to this day, I checked it the other day, has driven almost 200,000 page views to my site and converted to 1,000 leads to my email list. And honestly, I spent 2 hours building it, and then I update it just like 15 minutes once a year. So this is just an example of this kind of snowball that can build. Think of it very similarly to Google that can happen with Pinterest. So like I said, I've spent about 30 minutes a year updating that post, still bringing new visitors. And now I have thousands more pins because I've been doing it for 10 years that bring all these people to my website, which are opportunities for them to convert to our email list. We actually have our own digital products. We even use Lulu in our Shopify store for our digital or our principal planner that we have there as well. So here's why I care about Pinterest marketing in general. and how it impacts businesses, because I actually think Pinterest is probably one of the most undervalued and underrated platforms. I think it gets overlooked for Instagram, it gets overlooked for TikTok, because that's what takes up most of the conversation. But what we know on the other end is that we're looking at all these people's analytics and we see Google, Pinterest. Those are the traffic drivers. Those are the search engines that drive conversions. Whereas something like TikTok and Instagram, they have a lot of dopamine hits, but they don't drive as many conversions. So my passion is that I want businesses to use it in a way that adds to what they're doing. It's not like we're choosing, or we're choosing both and. So again, it's not either or, it's both and. And I want to help you understand how to add Pinterest to that whole marketing suite that you have. So I'm going to share some client stories, and then I'm going to share our framework for how you can use Pinterest to grow strategically without spending a ton of time. I want to stress that Pinterest does not take as much time as you think. Okay, so last year I asked one of our clients, Julep Tile, this is a handmade tile company, to meet with me and our team. And I said, hey, why do you use Pinterest? Like, I want to know why you keep choosing it. Why do you say yes? And as we began to dig deeper, she said one of the greatest things to me that actually transformed the way that I look at Pinterest. She said, I don't need your company to get them to my checkout page. That is a huge purchase. We're talking like $3,000. She wants to get them on the phone. So essentially, she doesn't need to help them decide. She needs them to be inspired on Pinterest. She needs them to be ready to take the next step with her. And that to me was like mind blowing, that she just needs people to be inspired, to get them on a phone call so that they can make a decision to purchase. So as a result, I came up with what we call our simple pin framework. So we think all businesses should approach Pinterest for their marketing in this way. And a common marketing phrase that people use is like a full funnel approach, which that just feels like too big of a term sometimes. So essentially, the person on Pinterest moves through 3 phases before they get to their decision, before they want to buy your book. They want to be inspired. They want to have this like aha moment, or they want to be informed. Maybe they want to learn more. And then they come to your website to purchase the actual product. So having that framework in mind allows us to understand how we are to approach it. Before we get into the full details of the framework, I want to talk about how Pinterest fits in the overall social media strategy that's happening today. Okay, so here's how you should think about Pinterest, especially in relation to Instagram. Pinterest is a library, Instagram is a bar. So people walk into a bar, they are ready for engagement. The music is loud, the lights are bright, people are chatting, like it's super vibrant and engaging. Essentially, there's so much to watch. That is Instagram. It's why we probably never leave the platform. I'm a heavy Instagram user. I get caught in the black hole all the time. Whereas people walk into a library, they have specific intent. They want to find a particular book or explore subjects they're interested in. They have no interest in conversation. In fact, they kind of hope there is none. The silence is calming, the conversation is positive, and the feel in the room is actually really brimming with discovery. This is Pinterest. If we approach Pinterest marketing with this understanding of it being like a library, we will have a far better reach and discovery for our books instead of expecting the library to be a bar. A lot of people take what they know about Instagram or other social media and they put it onto Pinterest and they think, well, isn't this how I'm supposed to do it? Get followers, get engagement, get people to talk. And that is a frustrating way to approach Pinterest. And what we find is that people usually give up on Pinterest within 4 to 6 weeks if they do that, because they're talking to the wrong audience. So that's number one. We're going to frame it up. All right, let's talk a little bit about who is even on Pinterest. It's 60% women. Gen Z is growing tremendously fast on the platform. It was 40% year over year last year, but in fact, I just read a stat in their recent like they do Pinterest Presents. It's a webinar. It's grown 20% this year so far. So it is by far the fastest growing user base, and 80% of pinners discovered a brand new brand on Pinterest. To sum it up, people on Pinterest go to dream, plan, buy, discover. So when it comes to books, they're interested in what type of book you write. This can be honestly a physical book or a PDF, not who you are, but what you write. And that's really important that, again, they're not interested in following you. They're interested in learning about what it is you write about, which again is super important for understanding Pinterest. Okay, so this is a phrase that I use, and I'm going to put it super bluntly. They don't care about you. They care about themselves. They approach Pinterest with this idea or this intent to solve a problem or find a solution for a future problem. Something like what type of book to read next, creating a book list, learning more about a particular subject. And if your book comes up in their search feed, they're totally open to clicking on it. People are not just like doom scrolling like they are on Instagram. They're really, really interested in finding something that is very intentional for them. Intent is a great word to associate with Pinterest. 97% of searches on Pinterest are unbranded. So think about this for a minute in the context of like a smaller bookseller versus somebody who's like, I'm a New York Times bestseller. If you know the questions that people are asking or searches that they are putting into the queue on Pinterest, you have just as great of a chance, if not greater, than the person you think is quote unquote bigger than you in your space. It's not a popularity contest on Pinterest. It's who can be the smartest in connecting with the user through search. I love this stat, and I think it's important to remember in our marketing. Pinterest is also the one app people do not give up in their social media detox. In their minds, it is search. In fact, Pinterest just recently, again, called themselves the shopping mall. They declare that they bring better search results because of the visuals. And we're going to get into the best way that you can do that in just a second. Another amazing part about Pinterest, I feel like I am like top evangelist right now for it, but we're getting towards the end of me declaring all of its awesomeness. But we think of it as long tail marketing, kind of like what I talked about in the beginning. It keeps building like a snowball the more you invest. So let's say you pin something today, if you're new to Pinterest, and in 2 years, let's say you keep investing in Pinterest, you might still get clicks from that particular pin or saves on that pin. If your pin is about something that people are interested in, they don't care if it's 2 years old or 5 years old. If it solves their need, solves their need. Okay, let's dive into the framework. It's broken down into 3 parts. Inspire, this is basically the aha moment, how they first encounter your book or the content that you talk about. And then inform, where they can go to learn more, to read more. That's the great part about Pinterest, is that they don't consume content on the platform. They go off the platform to consume content. And then decide when they get there, then they can make the decision about purchasing. I'm going to use 2 examples here, the one product seller that I mentioned in the beginning, and then a content creator. So even though these aren't necessarily book sellers, I want you to think about putting your books in the place of the products that I talk about in the beginning with the physical product, and even content, because content is really important for Pinterest as well. I also want you to note that Pinterest is very friendly to digital products. So I sell our digital planner. So I can definitely direct people to that digital planner, or I can direct them to our physical one where we use the connection with Lulu and Shopify so that they can print it. So just know that if you have anything that's digital, Pinterest is great with that. They have connections with Shopify, WooCommerce, Adobe Commerce, and Salesforce. So there's great integrations with that, which we love because Instagram and Facebook are not that friendly to digital products. Okay, so let's dive into talking about Kirsten, our handmade tile seller. One of the things she knows right away is she knows her buyer. So she knows her buyer is actually looking 6 months to 1 year in advance of when they are going to do this remodel, whether it's kitchen or bath. So in the inspire stage, she's not trying to get people to decide on the tile. She's trying to get them to think about things like black and white tile trends, how to make your kitchen look expensive. She's talking about things that are like pre yes, I want to purchase the tile. So an author's example might be talking about the books that help you escape, the books that are easy to read, the book you would want to take on vacation. Also, when Kirsten is talking to these people in Inspire, she's not talking about herself. She's not talking about her day. She's not talking about creating tile like she would on Instagram. She's going for these elements of search, like what are tile trends that are happening right now? Budget kitchens, kitchen remodels. Here's some examples of pins and in the informing stage. So we're moving to the next phase of the framework. Again, so we're not talking about her company, but we are talking about more questions like, how do I choose tile? How do I calculate square footage? Should I buy custom made tile? Things that people are ready to take it to the next level once they've decided they are going to use tile. All roads lead from Pinterest to getting them on her email list with the end goal of getting them on the phone call where she can help them put in the order. So that's kind of a seller example, but how does it work for content creators? So Susie's one of our clients, Mediterranean Dish. She's a food creator. She knows that people coming from Pinterest have just been given instructions that they should follow a Mediterranean diet. So between Susie and Kirsten, they know what's happening at the very first phase of people searching. And a lot of times as content creators, we're so head down in our content that we think people are going to go deep right away. But we have to remember how they enter into kind of our ecosystem. So as a food creator, she's going to create these recipes, obviously, but she's going to make sure to use the word Mediterranean in every single place that she can as the top keyword, because Pinterest is search. I'm going to show you how to put these keywords in, where to find them. But she essentially wants to make sure that she uses them everywhere so that they're inspired, like, oh, it's possible for me to cook this way because maybe I've been given, instructions to cook in this Mediterranean diet. Then she's going to move to inform, where she's going to tell them more about the why she loves this type of food, who needs to be on eating this type of food, whether it's for health or just for fun. So Susie then took it to the next level and she did a cookbook, and then she did her own ingredients. She sourced olive oil and spices and essentially moved into that deeper phase with the products. So this is the decision phase for Susie, to where she's like, yep, take action with me. You have basically been given instructions to eat this way. Now I'm going to inspire you, inform you, and here I have all the things you need to cook in this way. As a result of her long-term investment, I think she's been on Pinterest now 5 years. You can see she has a ton of followers, lots of monthly impressions, and she integrated her shop too, which helps get greater checkouts for the spices, the olive oil, and the cookbook. All right, so how can you leverage this same framework to get more readers? Here's where we go into the step-by-step. Okay, first is strategy statement. I love starting here because this is the why. I will tell you that Pinterest is probably one of the most frustrating platforms to market on, because it does feel like Google. There doesn't feel like a lot of dopamine hits. You don't know if it's working. You're not getting likes and engagements and comments. So those metrics tend to keep us going sometimes in marketing, but they're not necessarily a conversion. Whereas Pinterest is a large driver of conversions, whether it's email subscribers, traffic, buying your book. So one of the things I tell people to start with is a strategy statement of what is your goal? For me at Simple Pin Media, my goal is to educate people on Pinterest about how to use Pinterest itself, Pinterest marketing, to grow our email list so that converts into product sales or people using our services. That helps me with that true north of this is why I'm using it. I'm not using it for engagement. I'm not using it for awareness. I'm not using it for people to get to know me and like me. I'm really purely using it as an educational platform. So for Kirsten, she uses Pinterest to drive inspiration and information. That is her whole strategy with Pinterest, so that it can fuel the sales of her tile. For Susie, she uses Pinterest to capture new readers and buyers who actually might not follow her on Instagram, where she does spend the majority of her time, but she knows that Pinterest traffic for her is really actively working in the background and driving new people to her website. Her goal is to introduce Pinterest users to her cooking, inform them as to how they can cook, and then eventually they do end up following her on Instagram and TikTok to get to know her better. This is step number 2, creating Pinterest images. Okay, Pinterest images are basically the billboard advertising. People on Pinterest don't read. They only look at what's in the image. So if you have ever used Pinterest, which I'm assuming some of you have, if you have it on your phone and you scroll through, what you're going to see is just a sea of images, right? So what is in those images is what's going to catch people's attention in literally less than a second. And it's going to get them to click. The images on Pinterest are always vertical. They're a 2-to-3 ratio. Canva has great templates. So I'm going to walk you through how to create your own, but just know that in Canva, it's super, super easy. Okay, so images. When you're designing them, and I want to raise my hand and say, I'm literally one of the worst designers of Pinterest images out there. So I leverage templates that people sell because Canva templates in particular, because I will overthink an image and I will sit in front of the computer for an hour and a half. That is not a good use of my time. So when it comes to images, you want to create something that answers an initial question with an impact statement. It has to be quick and easy to read. So here's basically the anatomy. Let me go. Actually, I'm going to show you these and then I'm going to walk through one, but I want to give you this example here first. Pinterest has 3 pin formats. I'm covering image pins today, this one on the left. This is like the flagship pin of Pinterest. It has been this way since 2014. So just know that if you're new to Pinterest, this is the only one I want you to master. If you're not new to Pinterest and you want to do something different, a video pin format. Video is growing so fast on Pinterest. I think they said there's like 1 billion video views a day on Pinterest. So you can definitely take that to the next step. And then product pins. Product pins are only available when you connect your shop. So I have product pins because I have a Shopify store that is connected to Pinterest. This is just something that automatically comes up when you connect your shop. So if you don't have a shop, ignore that I said anything about product pins. If you are new to Pinterest, we're just going to focus on image pins. Okay. Let's break down a whole Pinterest image so you can get an idea of the elements that you want to have in your Pinterest image. One is your logo. We're going to start in the top left. You want to put your logo in a really tasteful place and avoid the bottom right. The reason is that Pinterest has this little visual search tool and it hovers over the bottom right. So just don't put your logo there. Number 2 is a text overlay. And we say text overlay. This is like a buzz statement. This is when you get into billboard advertising. This one here is cooking with veggies. We haven't even said the name of the cookbook, but we're hitting on cooking with veggies. That's it. And then we're going to go down to the bottom, a call to action. We like to add calls to action to all pins that we have. In fact, I'm going to go back 2 slides. There are 3 calls to action or call to action on each one of these. On the left, shop houseplant books. In the middle, start cooking. And then third, shop gardening books. So something that gives an indication of what they're going to find on the other side or what you want them to do. With a cookbook, obviously, it's start cooking. Going to the upper right, I said vertical. 2-to-3, 1000 by 1500. That is already set in most templates or in Canva. So don't worry about that. You just don't want to do square. So a lot of people will ask us, I've been doing a bunch of stuff on Instagram. Can I just take my Instagram images and pull them over to Pinterest? No, because on Instagram, you usually do an image and then you add a caption, you add context with the image, and people are ready to read. People on Pinterest don't know anything about what's in that image. So the image has to hold basically everything in it. The second spot of text that you can use is a text overlay messaging. It's like giving context. And what you'll notice here is 1, the font is very easy to read because most people are on a 5-inch screen. And number 2, it's not a lot of words. So we're giving kind of a statement, the book with over 1,000 vegetable recipes the whole family will love. We know Cook Veggies is kind of the brand. We're getting the whole vibe. I know right away this is a vegetable cookbook. And if I want to torture my children, I'm going to buy this cookbook. So that's it. And then we can see the offer in the product. We can see it in a lifestyle image. This is really, really important. Pinterest users will engage with images that are in a lifestyle context. I think it's like 80% more than they will just standalone. So don't just think, you can definitely put an image of your book here, but if you have the opportunity to get more lifestyle images for your book, now this is going to be different with any type of genre that you have, but you can get something that's a lifestyle. And Pinterest actually is testing an AI tool that will help you put your product image into a lifestyle image. It's just I would say it's an alpha, but it's something that is potential to be used in the future. Okay, so that is the whole breakdown of a Pinterest image. Step number 3, keywords. I've mentioned a couple of times already that Pinterest is search and discovery. When you think of Google, think of Pinterest right next to it, and that people use it in a very similar way, but instead of looking for text, they're looking for images to bring in the context right away. So here's how we do keyword research on Pinterest. Also a note too is that Pinterest, it's not just like they're searching for immediate answers, but they're definitely searching for inspiration, shopping, anything that is going to be of interest to them. Okay, here we go. There's 2 places. One, on Pinterest itself. And I would argue this is the number 1 place to look for keywords. As you can see, when you start typing into the search bar on Pinterest, you get predictive text below. Those are the keywords that you should use, and I'll tell you where to put them in just a second. The other place is trends.pinterest.com. This is a super cool tool that they have added. It's inside Pinterest. Everybody has access to this. It's broken down in between the US, the UK, and Canada with expected expansions to other countries. But what this allows you to see is when people are searching something in particular. So it's kind of like if somebody's going to be searching for things around Thanksgiving, then you want to know when the height of those searches happen. And you want to be you want to be sharing your pins before that happens. That's a big thing with Pinterest is that people are planners, right? They plan about 45 days in advance of the event. So if you know that your book correlates with a particular event, or you can add it to a particular gift guide to give away as a gift, you want to be talking about that gift guide, which includes your book, about 45 days in advance on Pinterest. Here's where you put keywords. When you upload a pin to Pinterest, for those that are new, when you add a pin, that means you put your image up there. Pinterest will prompt you to put keywords and statements in these particular areas. I will say wherever Pinterest allows you to put words, but make them natural sounding. Make them sound like you're sending a text to a friend. So pin title is just 3 to 4 words. You obviously don't have to make that sound like a text. Pin description is where you get the most bang for your buck. This is where you can add up to 500 characters. And this is where you would write something like a text to a friend. Here's a great book to read on vacation. I consumed, and you can use the actual title. I consumed this romance novel in 24 hours. It was amazing. It kept me gripped the whole time. You should add this to your book list. That is a on-the-fly example of a pin description, but the pin description, again, is not for the reader because the reader on Pinterest is going to just be looking at the image. This is for the algorithm. So when you think of keywords, what you're doing is you're telling the search engine, here's what my book is about, and here is how you can categorize it and show it to more people. Pin copy is what is actually on the pin. Fun fact, Pinterest and their AI will now read the text on the images. So if you have a particular keyword that you're targeting for, just know that they will read that if it's on your image. board name and board description. When you add boards to your profile, then you can keyword that board name, keyword the description. So again, any place that Pinterest prompts you to add keywords, add them. This is also not a science. So a lot of people get caught here about doing it right or wrong. You can edit as you go along. You can change board names as you go along. Pin descriptions and pin titles, we don't recommend that you go back and edit, but you can always pin something twice. It's kind of a magical thing. Fourth is commit. It takes 6 to 9 months of investment in Pinterest to really see forward movement. And I say that to be completely frank and honest with you, that this is not something that you're going to start today and in 6 weeks you're going to be like, I am knocking it out of the park. We are killing it on Pinterest. It's the same, again, type of thing that you would do with YouTube or you would do with Google. It's putting another log on the fire and saying, I'm going to add a pin to the platform and I'm going to be consistent. And over time, that is going to grow and people are going to discover my pins. And the algorithm's going to know what I'm talking about because I'm using keywords. And then all of a sudden, you start to see some forward movement in 6 to 9 months. That's important because I don't want somebody getting super excited today. There's a lot of quick start people who are like, yeah, let's jump in with both feet. And then 4 weeks later, they're done. This is try to find a way to invest and make this as a part of your whole like marketing strategy. So I want to talk about how this like practically breaks down for these two particular clients, what it actually looks like for them. So on Kirsten's website, she does create blog posts twice a month. And she also does PDF guides about choosing tile. And for each one of those pieces of content, she might create 1 to 2 images. And then she also pins daily to the platform. So she's been creating bi-weekly blog content for a couple of years. She has quite a bit there. So she pins to the platform about 4 times a day. How many times you pin per day? There is no magic number. We have been all over the map for all of our clients. This is just a guide. In fact, some people we tell if they're new to Pinterest, if you pin like 2 times a week because you don't have a lot, that is totally fine. As you build up your library of content, you'll be able to pin more. Which here's an example of somebody who can pin a lot more. Susie has thousands of recipes and she's creating essentially a blog post twice a week sometimes. They have multiple images. She does video. Her content library is really, really vast. And so what she can put on Pinterest can be anywhere from 10 to 15, even 20 pins a day, all different. It's not the same thing because she has a backlog of seasonal content. She's rotating through a lot. When it comes to this idea of pinning on Pinterest, I want you to think about it as adding only your content. You don't have to pin other people's stuff, but adding only your content so that it's kind of like your library is built up of options that people can view or interact with. And a note is that people really don't come to your profile on Pinterest. That's why I say followers aren't really that important because people are out in the search feed and the home feed. They're like just scrolling on their phone. And because you've done such a great job with keywording, Pinterest already knows what your content is about. So it will show it to people who follow you or don't follow you. So again, it's kind of like this really cool thing where all your investment gets brought together and that gets shown to a variety of different people. Okay, so I know that there's a lot in this session. I'm sure people have a ton of questions. So I just want to say this before I dive into questions is that I do have a podcast, the Simple Pin podcast. I've 350 episodes about Pinterest. We've been going for 7 years. You can find that in your podcast player, Simple Pin Podcast. We do it every Wednesday. So note that if you want to go deeper on this. But here's what I want to leave you with today is that Pinterest will feel overwhelming at first, and especially a lot of the information I gave you today. But I will tell you, after looking at so many different accounts, that investment is worth it 100%. Remembering that Pinterest is the library, Instagram is the bar, market to people on Pinterest like you're in a quiet room with people who want to dream, plan, buy, explore, whatever it is. If you have that framed up, I guarantee you will be successful with Pinterest over the long haul. It's going to take you a little bit of time, but once you do get into it, all these elements I've talked about are going to be pretty seamless for you. And there's lots of great tools that I can share with you in the Q&A to make that even quicker. I always like to say this is that it is a cold lead platform. I joke that like, it's kind of like you're meeting new like library study buddies, essentially, that people are coming into your ecosystem. It just takes a few hours a week and you'll be on your way. So I want to give you a keyword guide. If you go to simplepinmedia.com/keyword, which I'm sure we can put in the chat box, I'll pop out of my slides. I'm sure I have a lot of questions. I usually do when I'm done. If I don't, it means that it's awesome and you guys grasp it right away. But I know when people are new, it's a little bit tough. So Chelsea, do you want me to pop out of this and then we can go into Q&A? Let's see. I'm assuming that's yes. So I'm going to stop sharing. And I go here.
Thank you. Sorry, I just realized I was muted.
Oh, I figured that. I was like, well, I'll just pop out.
Just keep going. Keep going. I could have just not told people that I messed up there, but that's okay. But thank you so much, Kate. This is so much information. I know you were saying before we started that, you would imagine people have like a deer in the headlights kind of look after taking all this in. And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I know what Pinterest is, but I'm like, whoa, there's a lot to it. It's very involved. But I really appreciate you saying, being honest about the runway to get up and starting and committing to something. And then, something that kind of builds on itself and snowballs. So thank you for not saying by tomorrow you'll go viral and we'll all be rich.
Yes, you're going to have 10,000 readers. I feel like 10,000 is a magic number, right? Like overnight. And I think the reason that I want to be honest about that too is because we do see these things that are out there, amongst Instagram or Facebook ads or whatever it is. And I just want people to have a really clear understanding that it isn't an overnight success platform, but it is super powerful if you are willing to put in the, that base level work. And we even did a time audit for us, like how much time did we spend on Instagram versus how much time we spent on Pinterest. And I think we realized we spent probably around 10 hours a week on Instagram, creating reels, jumping through hoops, doing all the things for the algorithm. And we were spending 2 hours a week on Pinterest. So that was remarkable. I see a question about linking to WooCommerce. Yes. Pinterest integrations right now, their shop integrations are getting better and better. They'll do Shopify, WooCommerce, Adobe Commerce, and they just added Salesforce. So those three are great, especially if you sell both digital and physical products. And Pinterest makes it pretty seamless. There will be some bumps, like you have to make sure everything in your store is set up correctly, like return policy, all the privacy policy, all the details. So if for some reason you get a bump back where you're rejected, you do have 3 appeals. They should usually tell you what you need to fix. If they don't, email them. It is very common. We hear from people all the time that they're like, I got rejected. I'm like, yeah, I know. Everybody does. So there you go.
It's not you, it's them. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, we've got several questions in the Q&A. We'll start with Ruth. Does this work for fiction books? Will your plan work for a fiction author?
Yeah. In fact, I have an older podcast with a fiction romance author who loves to use Pinterest for her books to give snippets away of her book, like a teaser chapter or whatever. And she puts reviews on Pinterest with a picture of her book, and it works great. Fiction is actually super awesome because you can put it in compilation lists. You can add it to gift guides, beach reads. So you can kind of like branch out into many different sections on Pinterest too.
Yeah. And I'll say, just as a regular Pinterest user or lurker, as I admitted to, I've recently started getting books recommended to me based on some of the things I'm searching for. And it's just a really good, like you said, when you're meeting the potential reader, it's kind of at exactly the time that they're looking for or interested in that content. So I've gotten a couple titles from Pinterest that I'm very excited about. So yeah, I think I could see that working across genre if you're doing it right.
Yeah.
And Chloe is asking, what usually performs better, a pin or a pin idea, or an idea pin? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So idea pins were something that Pinterest is actually phasing out, and they're fusing into video. So one in early 2020, Pinterest saw, obviously they exploded. But at the same time they exploded, TikTok exploded. And so they wanted to capture more of the short form video. And so they created these things called idea pins, which could be either video or slides. They're doing away with them. Some accounts still have idea pin as an option to create. But what we're telling people is just create a video. Where it's less than a minute 30. These are real short form. They are not long form by any means. And as far as like recommending one over the other, we have some clients where video gets so much engagement from their users. And then we have other clients in the same niche, their video gets no engagement. Their image pins get all the engagement. So it all depends on what your users are interacting with and how Pinterest shows more of that to people on the platform. So we tell people start with image pins, master those. And then if you go into video, formerly idea pins, test those. We've done like 3 a week to see about the level of engagement. And we like a hybrid of both.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing you mentioned that was really valuable is both of the examples, or 2 of the examples you gave, they knew exactly the customer journey and they knew exactly how they were thinking about the product before they were ready to buy it and what led them there. And, knowing your readers and your target audience is so important to think of what are they interested in that might bring them to your book. And that may help you kind of figure out what they would engage with in a better way.
100%.
So, thank you for that question, Chloe. The next one is, how much do you recommend spending spending a week on a Pinterest ad?
A Pinterest ad. Okay, so this is really fun. We actually have tested this. We tried doing $5 a day all the way up to, we've done $50 a day. And what we've determined is that the amount of money you spend depends on how much you are willing to lose, if you will. So if your book is going to be $10 and you're willing to spend $5 to get a $10 buy, great. That's up to you. So what you spend per conversion is really dependent on what your product costs. Now, one of the things we've just played around with recently is there's a Pinterest ad that you build in the dashboard, and there's this little button called promote. That's a promoted pin. They're 2 different things. I played around with promote and just doing it really sloppy the other day, and I set a budget of $1 for 30 days. It is clearly not optimized. It's not working well, but I'm letting it run. I think I've spent $1.60, but my impressions have gone up. I think I've gotten like 3 conversions. So that is the lazy, uninformed Kate way. Don't do it that way. But if you want to play around with your budget, clearly $1. But if you want to get more strategic on your conversions, then you definitely want to go into the conversions campaign, go into the dashboard. We actually have a whole like ads membership where our ads director teaches people how to do this and like adjust. Also, Pinterest ads are a little bit fickle where they take about 2 weeks to optimize. So usually you have to set a budget and leave it alone for 2 full weeks before you really know how the platform is showing the ad.
Oh, that's great insight. Like, do that $1, then just keep doubling down.
I know. My ads director, my ads director messaged me and she was like, it is killing me to watch this ad just not do anything. I'm like, just leave it. Let's leave it and see what happens. It's like, we spend $2, whatever. So anyway.
That's right. That makes it, really puts it in perspective. You could probably put down that's your Starbucks for a day, I guess. With that.
Totally.
All right. Well, thank you for those questions, Chloe. And Roberta is asking, for a novel or poetry books, do you think is better for your username to be your author name, or can it be a nickname or maybe a pen name?
Yeah. So username on Pinterest doesn't really matter like all that much anymore. You want to go with something that's like really easy to remember or what people know you as. So I have Simple Pin Media. I have named it that instead of Kate Ahl. I don't want it to be my name. I want it to be our company's name. So in the profile description, in the profile name, and in the username is really what's in the URL. I would go with whatever people know you as and what they would search. So if you don't want it to be, if you're just starting out, then that's really up to you. You get to decide, what do I want to be for the long haul? What's the name that I want? And then go from there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you for that question. And Kaya is asking, would you recommend having a website to benefit from Pinterest?
100%. It's really easy, like say on Instagram, to not need a website. It's kind of like all your content is housed there. But when it comes to Pinterest, people move off the platform. So that's a very unique difference from those who are caught in the ecosystem versus those who want to go somewhere. So if you don't really have somewhere for them to go or visit, there's less opportunity for conversions. So even if you have sometimes Etsy sellers and teachers pay teachers sellers can do great on Pinterest because they are still going to a third party website. You can definitely use third party, but you're not going to have all the same integrations that you would if you were a self-hosted website.
Yes, we definitely agree with that. You have to have well, you don't have to, but like you're saying, it's great to have your own place to send people and have that traffic in those analytics as well.
Yeah.
All right. And the next question from Kimberly, can Lulu be integrated into Pinterest for sales? Kate, I know you were saying that it integrates with Shopify, so you can sell your Lulu books that way. But if you want to add any other insights for that question, feel free.
Yeah, I would say I don't know beyond the Shopify and the connection with Lulu and Shopify. I don't really know any other way that you could do it, but if you can, you correct me if I'm wrong. Like if somebody is printing through Lulu, can they send people to a place where they can buy, or does that have to be integrated onto the website?
It needs to be through their website. You can sell
Okay.
through Lulu's bookstore and have like a buy button that you
Mm,
can link to. But I think the best way to do it, again, just getting that analytics and the data that you can get from selling directly to your audience, doing an integration with Shopify or even our print API would probably be the best way to go about it.
yeah, 100%.
All right. And Alexandria is asking, did you say it was 6 to 8 weeks or 6 to 8 months that we get Pinterest up and running?
Yeah. Okay. I'll say two phases: 6 to 8 weeks, getting your bearings.
Mhm.
6 to 9 months until you really see a lot of movement. And the reason we say that is because in working with our clients, we find that the first 4 months, there is so much that there is set up, whether it's connections or nailing the messaging on your images or finding out what type of content calendar or creation system you're going to have. Those things really need to be done before you can move along. And we find that it takes people about we have an accelerator package that we work with clients. It's about 8 weeks long. That is where you can get all that stuff done in that 8 weeks and then get lift off, where we would say it probably at that point, if you were getting everything done in 8 weeks, it would be closer to the 6 month mark. But yes, it's not your dopamine hit platform. It's going to feel like it's not working.
I love it. It's the marathon, not a race. I know. And the analogy of Instagram being a bar and pictures being a library
Yes.
was maybe my favorite part of this, and it was like happened within like the first 5 minutes. So it was that was a wonderful framework to be thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, when I'm on Pinterest, I don't want anyone to interact with me. I'm kind of
No.
doing my own thing, and, like,
And you'll
looking
see
at my stuff.
comments on Pinterest. Just know there are some legitimate comments from people that are good, but there are also a lot of spam comments. And one of the jokes is that when you see somebody commenting on your stuff, you're like, why is somebody talking to me? Like, get out of my space, right?
There are other people here.
I know,
It's
right?
a library. Shh. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. The next question is it possible to maintain and grow my audience with just Pinterest, my own blog and newsletter via my website and Goodreads? I know a lot of authors grow theirs via Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, but I want to be unique in how I reach them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, honestly, for me, that's how I grew my business in the beginning, was really just Pinterest. It was like right out of the gate, getting everything going. Then we integrated like a Facebook group after that. And then Instagram, honestly, if I could get rid of it completely, I would, right? Because I think it's just a totally different type of audience there. And I want to drive conversions. So keeping for us, our main hub is like creating content on our website, creating the podcast, and then that goes to Pinterest, Google, YouTube. And then kind of the leftovers are really Instagram and showing, kind of keeping a warm connection, if you will. But we have a lot of examples of people who really don't want to invest over there. So they do just invest in Pinterest.
Yeah, and I think like you were saying earlier, just the fact that there's the intent when you're on Pinterest is to buy or to learn or to be inspired to take an action. And we're not saying that people don't go to Instagram for that, but
Yeah.
doom
It's
scrolling may
harder.
be more
I
prevalent there.
doom scroll on Instagram, and if you think about it too, put yourself in just as a marketer, it's really helpful to put yourself in the user's shoes. And
Mhm.
I don't even know what half the websites of the people I follow on Instagram even look like. I would say probably even more than
Great point.
90%. I never leave
Yeah.
the platform.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right. And thank you for that question. Next up from Roberto. All right. Do you think it is better to have one Pinterest profile for your native language users and another for an
Mm.
English language? So I'm guessing that he writes books in several languages. So what would your advice be there?
Yeah, it's changed over the years. We have had bilingual sites. Specifically, we've done like French and English. And what we found that if you do that, you have to create like mirror boards, one board for English, one board for French. And some people are okay with that. That is totally fine. You can do two separate too as well. Sometimes it's a difference of like the .com or the .ca, and that can be like where you end up in the search feed. So most
Mhm.
people start with a .com and they'll do two languages. It does seem a little bit harder. So I would say start with this is one of those like test and see. Like there's never been a really solid right answer for this. So you could do two, also depending on what your home country's domain is with Pinterest. But I will say, even if you're like a .com, I still get traffic from other Pinterests in other countries, and those
Mhm.
show up in my Google Analytics. So I would say start with like a main one, check Google Analytics and kind of see which one's driving a lot of the traffic in there. And then you can always open up a second one if you want. But I would just start with one to be a little bit less confusing.
Perfect. And thank you for that question. All right. Kristen is asking, do you think that we could have reasonable success growing our book business without spending money on the ad campaigns, or should we just plan to budget for marketing?
Yeah, absolutely. The great part about Pinterest is that organic still works really, really well over there. It's pretty fantastic. A lot of people engage with it. If you do decide to do ads, ads are really seamlessly integrated into Pinterest to where honestly, sometimes I don't even know that it's an ad unless I like read below. So I would say start with organic, get it up and running, and then figure out what your budget's going to be once you get your bearings, like once you kind of see what's working and not working, and then go from there. Maybe even like 3 or 4 months in after you're set up, you can go straight into ads because you can do one of two things. You can start with a brand new ad, something that's not on the platform, or you can put money behind an existing organic pin that's there. You can kind of like turn it on and turn it off.
Yes, the ads are so slick on Pinterest. I'm like, what are you doing in here, Whole Foods? Get out. Okay. All
Yes,
right. So
exactly.
David is asking, can you get potential book sales from posting standard free pins? Okay, so I think you just kind of answered
Yeah.
this, but basically going the free route is a good way to start. You can do that. And then would you say just kind of plan to increase, or if you're maybe not seeing the results that you like, then start putting some money behind it?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you know you have, I would say if anybody's planning to do ads, go
Mhm.
about 4 weeks into learning mode, get the lay of the land, learn what you want to do, understand the ads platform, figure out your budget, then go 4 weeks into data collection mode, making sure the pixel that you have on your website is warming up. It's the tag, it's
Mhm.
really getting going. And then after that, I think you can optimize it. So I would budget about 2 months prepping for really like how to have effective ads, and then you can scale it, then you can get lift off.
Perfect. All right. And one more question. I have a pseudonym and I don't show my face or location as an author. Would you recommend me using my author logo for my profile picture at Pinterest?
Yes, absolutely. Using a logo is great. A long time ago, they used to say just use a personal picture, but now that brands are widely recognized on the platform, absolutely use the logo.
All right. I'll do one last call for questions since we are coming to the end of the hour. But I will say, okay, Ola is asking, how do I go about setting up an account on Pinterest? Can you take us back to brass tacks? I've never been on Pinterest
Yes.
before. How do I get started?
Yeah, so you're going to want to go to business.pinterest.com. You want to start with a business account. You do not want to start with a personal account. So
Okay.
once you go there, it'll walk you through really easy. The UX experience on the platform is like super slick. So every place that you can enter information about your business, do it. And then from there, you'll have your profile set up. You can link to your website, you can connect your shop, do all the technical integrations. And then Pinterest gives you the option of creating boards. Your very first board that you create can be like mine is Simple Pin Media. So it can be your business name or your author name, and it can be where all your books are housed. And then you can create 2 to 3 more boards around like the genre or what you talk about. It's kind of like, again, it's like a library of what it is you have and where you can put those things. And you can create different types of images for the same content, and you can put those in those boards. So that's kind of like the basic get set up, follow all the settings, check it all out. And once you have that set up, you're good to go.
Perfect. Well, thank you for answering that. And I'm going to drop in the link to Simple Pin Media. If there aren't any other questions, Kristen, where can people find you? How can we connect with you after this webinar?
Yeah, so go to simplepinmedia.com. And then also, if you want to, if you are new, simplepinmedia.com/start is probably one of the best ways. If you're new, it's going to walk you through a 4-part video series. And then that will help you get up and running, kind of covering a lot of how do I get my account set up on Pinterest. That's pretty much it.
Perfect. I'm sorry. I was reading Kristen's comment and called you Kristen. So thank you.
That's
I
okay.
appreciate that. But thank you so much for this insight. They were wonderful. I think, let's see, do we have one other question? Nope, just saying really good info. Thank you. So thank you for saying that. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Kate, thank you so much. I dropped the link in the chat. Go check them out if you have any questions. There's obviously a lot to know. It is a great opportunity for you if you have not checked Pinterest out already. And thank you so much for being with us. And Kate, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you getting up early to be with us today. And yeah, we might have to have you back for a part 2. So thank you so much.
Let's do it. You're welcome.
Thanks, everybody. Hey, happy Taco Wednesday. We'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, everybody, and happy pinning. Bye. Bye, everyone.